Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I have Dad with me in the kitchen for our annual Christmas holiday episode.
It flies by. It seemed like we were doing this yesterday.
I know, they go by faster the more they rack up.
I'm happy to do it, and I'm happy to be here.
So this time of year I get really sentimental and I turn to the family recipe box because this is just such a treasure trove of memories from my childhood, and I love to just go through here and see what comes out. And the other day I was looking and I found this little number.
Yes, I remember this, and I remember that a friend of ours gave this to us, and we wouldn't have kept it if we didn't love it.
Right. So that's the thing. I feel like this little recipe box is the greatest hits of everything that's sort of made the cut.
That's true. And this is memory lane.
Yes, memory lane right here. Now, the thing that I remember about these appetizers is you made these a lot during like the 70s and the 80s. And my brother and sister and I used to think they were the weirdest thing because they were built on an English muffin. And we just thought they were so funny, but they were so delicious.
So we were crazy for hors d'oeuvres, my family. And as a matter of fact, my mother always used to make great hors d'oeuvres. And my sister came up with this idea one Christmas, and she said, let's just have all hors d'oeuvres. Which actually I think was a good idea. But if you really think about going back to your wedding in France and then my sister's weddings, those hors d'oeuvres were beautifully crafted. And I can remember my cousin and myself devouring them like crazy because they were so beautiful and delicious.
They are. I mean, it's definitely my favorite part of any party. It's when people are arriving, you've got something bubbly, chilled, something hot is coming out of the oven. If it's cold where you live, there's something cozy about coming into someone's house like that. And I think to greet somebody with a warm hors d'oeuvre is just the height of hospitality.
That's right.
And the reason why I love these is they're so easy, and you probably have all of these ingredients sitting in your fridge.
Well, here we go.
All right, so what do we do?
So we start with a block of cream cheese.
Yep.
And you know all the ounces. And
yeah, so this is just a regular 8-ounce brick of cream cheese.
And then you want to put an egg.
Yes. Now this is your addition because the original recipe did not include the egg.
No, it didn't. And I don't know where this came from, but it does give it more body. But this is probably the hardest part, is trying to meld the egg and the cream cheese. But it does happen.
Well, I think it helps if the cream cheese is at room temperature and maybe with the whisk. But I think this is sort of the funny thing about how my dad cooks is the recipe is a starting point.
Yeah.
It's just a suggestion. Right. And then if you want to deviate in any way, you can.
Well, that's the way you do with your testing. You're always testing everything.
Yes.
So I think that it's a good idea
to be creative and do it your way.
Well, now let's hear about some of your memories. And give me that knife because I have to.
Well, I think some of my favorite memories, obviously, was tree trimming, you know, when we would get the Christmas tree up, and it would definitely begin the start of the holidays. I think another fun tradition that we used to do at our house was there was so much excitement that would happen on Christmas Day, and everybody would have their favorite presents. And there was a year where my sister and I got these funny Barbie doll heads that we were doing their hair. Remember those?
I remember that.
And then by like summertime, we cut all the hair off.
Yes, that's right.
And we had these like bald Barbies. But I think the thing that we all looked forward to was that last gift at night where you started that tradition.
Oh, at the table.
At the dinner table, my dad would get us each a little gift. It could be a piece of jewelry, it could be something sentimental. And I just remember thinking that was such a special, thoughtful thing. Like, it's not really all over yet, guys. There's one more little gift at the table.
Well, I can't take credit for that, but...
Where did that come from? Whose tradition was that?
I worked in New York, as you remember, and I would go to Tiffany's. And I would see that they would have these wonderful table decorations. And they always had little presents on the plate. So I figured, well, that would be a good way to get you to stick to the table for dinner and then get the surprise. And it was always a special piece of jewelry for your mother.
Yeah, yes. Mom always got something very special.
Because that I learned.
Too. You would give us little necklaces or little, you know, when we were younger, and that was just, it was such a sweet thing.
Now look at that. That is getting nice and creamy.
Yeah, see, so it does come together. Yeah. Okay, now, what do you need next?
All right, give me a little bit of
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
Okay. Here, I'm going to take your eggshell.
This is my secret ingredient. I always like to
for everything.
use this.
I love it too. No, you've got me using it. I love it too. Whenever you need something that needs more flavor and something savory, just a dash of Worcestershire. It goes such a long way. It's really great.
It does. All right, now give me the olives.
Yes. Oh, do you need salt and pepper or no?
Oh yeah, just
Little
a
salt
little
and
bit to taste.
Okay, just to taste.
You
all
know
right.
how you are.
Yes. But these hors d'oeuvres you used to make when you would have those cocktail parties with everybody dancing and, the tree would be up and the neighbors would be over. And it just seemed like such a festive thing. And I remember these hors d'oeuvres coming out of the oven. And at first, Meg and I, my sister and I, we weren't so hot on them. But my brother would go in and eat them right out of the oven.
Oh, I know.
Right?
And I must admit that with a tossed salad, these are really kind of good.
Dinner.
I used to have them for, a lunch or,
Yeah.
for an early dinner or something like that. But it's really great. Olives.
Okay, olives, yeah. This is where it gets a little weird. So you've got the cream cheese.
Yeah.
Now you have the olives.
Right.
Okay, just
Put
all
them
of them?
in, yeah.
No, I didn't chop them.
I did.
You did. Okay.
I did
so
a
they're
rough
just,
chop.
You did a rough chop. Okay, just diced black olives. Kind of come like in the little can. Yep.
And those really are delicious. It sounds strange, and I know it is,
It
but
does, but they're
it
good.
really is good. And then the cheese.
And then the cheese. And then I think the other thing that just is fun is those early parties that you guys had trickled down to the parties that I wanted to have. Because I think when you're entertaining in some way, you're trying to recreate memories or you're drawing on things that you remember from your childhood.
Well, I think the real secret, and it's kind of funny because the young
cheese.
grooms start, no, that's enough.
That's enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
They ask me, what's the secret to a long marriage? Because your mother and I will be married 56 years.
Oh my gosh.
And I think the secret is to marry your best friend, but
Yes.
also to like to have people to your house. And my wife, your mother, and myself, we both like to entertain on our family side.
Yes.
So my sister was saying to me the other day, I remember getting together with your in-laws and our family. There was never any intrigues. There was never any this one and that one. It was just fun. We all enjoyed ourselves.
Well, I do think that is the secret in some ways when you're blending families is to make sure you prioritize the same things. And I
That's
think you
right.
and Mom, both your families, both my parents are one of five. One of five kids. So imagine when everybody got together with all the cousins, I had 20 plus cousins. And they would all come over, all dressed up. Everybody would get themselves into
That's
the tights
right.
and the patent
Yeah.
leathers. And it was a
Yeah.
big deal. Holidays. And I think because you both shared that, you both were on board with that. And I think that, trickled down to now my kids that love to entertain and love to have people over. And there's a funny picture of when they were little and they had set up in the living room a little restaurant and they were waiting on my parents.
They love that.
It was
Yes.
so cute because they wanted to play, entertaining. It was just funny.
Now,
Yes.
this is your idea,
Yes.
which is fine because you always have to put your twist on it. But
No,
I
this was
am
in the
not
recipe.
big on these onions.
But this was in the original recipe, so I figured we'd have some original.
Okay, so we
remnants.
just put a
green
little-
onions.
not too much.
Not too much. All right, so now we have these English muffins here. So it's just a package of 6 English muffins that we are going to split in half.
Right.
And I always
You
think
want
it's
me to help
better,
you?
yep, to do it by hand because then you're going to preserve all the nooks and crannies.
Which is great because
Yeah.
it holds to the mixture.
Yeah. And you don't need to toast them ahead of time because I found, now the original recipe said bake at 350, but I think 375 is going to be better because it's going to toast the English muffin a bit better and it's going to make the cheese a little bit more bubbly.
That's why I like working with you.
Right.
Because
Well,
you
I learned
put-
it from you.
You put
It's
your
just a
spin on
suggestion.
it, which
It's
is
just a
great.
suggestion.
So I think we can just do this with the spatula.
All right, so you just
And
spoon
just
it on.
put that
Mhm.
on.
Do you need
And
to
you
get a
want
spoon?
to make sure that all corners are covered
Okay.
because when they go in to the oven, it'll melt
Yeah.
a little bit.
So this is a great one if you need a last minute hors d'oeuvre and you are looking for things that are in the pantry and you have these ingredients. They are quite delicious. I mean, I don't think anybody is going to turn away bubbling cheese. There's something so good about it. And I think the olives and the green onions just give you another flavor profile. That's
Well, another thing that you should mention is many Christmases,
don't put too much 'cause we're not gonna
my
have enough.
children would come to me and say, well, Dad, such and such has no place to go. Can we invite them? And I would say, sure, yeah, not a problem. But one Christmas, I looked around the table and other than my children, I didn't know anyone. I thought, Wait a minute.
No,
but
wait a second.
That's the spirit. That is the spirit.
I think the funniest story is the Thanksgiving that we were at your house, and
Oh,
my sister
yes.
and I were home from college, and my parents were getting ready, and all the hors d'oeuvres were out, and we had the drinks, and people were kind of still showering and getting dressed, and the doorbell rang, and we went up to answer the door, and these two lovely ladies came in, and we thought, oh, these must be friends of my parents. We sat them down, we gave them drinks, we were having hors d'oeuvres, and then my parents came out and said, oh, girls, are these your friends? And we burst out laughing, and we said, no, aren't they your friends? And then the two visitors were like, oh my gosh, we're in the wrong house. They meant to go to the party up the street. And then they said, oh, we want to stay. We're having so much more fun here.
Well, one lady said
That
to
was
the
funny.
other, does that mean we have to leave?
I know. I was like, well, you can finish your drinks. Finish your drinks.
And then the final touch is to sprinkle a little paprika, because that makes it look
Yeah.
more festive. But these are delicious. And this is the original Bet You Can't Eat Just One.
I know. They are good.
And so easy, which is
I know.
what I like.
Exactly. Like, in fact, you could have this all prepped just like this, pop it in your fridge, and then when guests are about to arrive, pop them in the oven. All right, here we go. 375, 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah.
I would say, check
Okay.
it. You know.
All right, in we go. Ooh, these
So,
look yummy.
Don't they? And
Delish.
they are nice and golden.
These look delicious. Now, these did take us a little bit longer, 25 to 30 minutes. So I think just give them a little bit more time. I think they're nice when they're nice and crispy.
And it depends on your oven, too.
Yeah. Okay.
So put them over here. And these are so good.
So then the idea is to cut them into quarters just because they are so cheesy and hearty.
Well, they should be pop in your mouth, you know.
Right. I think an hors d'oeuvre that you can have a drink in one hand and hors d'oeuvre in one, and it's a 2-bite thing, one or 2 bite,
Exactly.
is the way to go.
And then just, cut them. They're
Yeah.
easily cuttable. And put
There
them
they
on the
go.
tray.
Okay. Well, I think it's been so fun to reminisce about all of our fun holiday stories. And if you would like to hear some more stories with me and Dad,
Oh, yes.
you can now tune in to his newly launched podcast, where I was honored to be the first guest.
And there's a lot of information. And I
Yeah,
really
maybe too much.
enjoyed doing it. No, I enjoyed it.
So if you want to listen to the podcast, the link is in the description. You can click that, and then you can head on over and hear some stories about how I launched my business, Dad launched his business, and a little bit about balancing creativity, motherhood, the whole bit. So, all right, so
Sounded very-
parenthood,
Well,
creativity,
yeah,
and
of
parenthood.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not just
So
about the mothers.
then on here, I've put the little hors d'oeuvres.
Yes,
And then
and-
I like to put a garnish. So from your wonderful herb garden,
Yes, this is the
These
only thing that's left.
wonderful sage, which almost looks like it's frosted.
That's what I
And then
like.
some cranberries.
Yes,
So isn't that festive?
isn't that festive? Okay,
There
now
we are.
it looks lovely. I'm dying to give it a try. But I think the person who really needs to give it a try,
Oh,
because
yes.
she was there back in the day,
Oh,
my
yeah.
mom. She's coming for the second annual tasting. All right. So, Mom, do these bring back the memories of the 1970s?
I have been reminiscing watching you two make them.
All right, let's see. Give it a try. Now they're hot, so maybe a 1 bite.
I'll just take a little.
Yeah, just a little.
Mm,
Mmm.
I
Well,
think she likes it.
They're very good.
oh, good. Right?
So do I have a winner?
Yes, you do.
Oh, good.
You were for the second year because you didn't do anything.
No. We didn't do a contest this year. In fact, if you want to see the contest from, was it last year?
Yeah.
With the turtles and the wacky cake, my dad and I went head to head, and Mom picked a winner. We won't say who she picked, but you can click the link in the description and find out who. All right, you guys, a very Merry Christmas from our house to your house. I hope you give these a try. They are quite delicious, and you will be transported back to Connecticut,
delicious.
1978.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.